text from Blake Lively is insane. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. What?
It's a crazy text.
What are you insinuating? Like, is that a joke? Yeah. I was blown away reading it.
And Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively, because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone. And so that's what happened.
Friedman, he stopped by the Megyn Kelly show, and here's some of the things that he had to say. First, he says there used to never be a sexual claim. There never was a sexual claim until she went to that civil rights.
Blake Lively, the queen of flawlessly manicured Instagram photos and graciousness on the red carpet, is currently making headlines for all the wrong reasons. It's not a new movie or an amazing fashion moment, but rather some dubious receipts that surfaced recently. Apparently, her lawyer wasn't cautious enough, and now the internet has a front row seat to whatever she's been trying to hide.
Really, no allegation of harassment until the lawsuit was filed.
But it just seems to me that the Team Lively side has been caught really quite flat-footed on this whole thing. And yet they're the plaintiffs. They're the ones who had all the time in the world to prepare this before they filed. So I know you've talked about this, but what is your view of that?
Yeah, that's the thing that was the strangest to me, was she claims to have, had all of this ready, even when the initial New York Times article was published, right? They claimed that they published this information because they had thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that they reviewed of evidence, and that's why they felt confident publishing this article. I didn't believe that there was, even 50 pages of information that they reviewed, but that's my own personal opinion. But it's where is the 1,000 documents that they reviewed?
Let's go into the specifics of what was revealed and why Blake is allegedly crumbling over it. Let's just say that the repercussions isn't looking pretty, because when Hollywood's sweetheart finds herself at the center of a legal nightmare, people start paying attention.
Run into somebody who seems like a witch who will take advantage of you and hurt you until finally even that kind of a guy rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly. He hired a badass named Brian Friedman, and he has badass women like me defending him. But slowly but surely, I think the male class is learning down on the floor, squirming and apologizing for being a man is not
what specifically happened. Let's face it, Blake Lively isn't the kind to just end up in a scandal at random. She's built her entire career as the effortlessly charming, drama-free, fashion-forward actress. But now there are rumors, receipts, and a legal mess that even her flawless PR team can't ignore.
Lively has filed to get out of this lawsuit, and this gets tricky because it applies to a new law in California that was actually enacted in January of 2024. Now, on its face, it can look like that she could get out of it, but there are some details in which I don't see how that's a possibility. And it also doesn't mean Justin Baldoni can't sue her again, but Blake Lively filed to dismiss Justin Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit. The move comes 2 days after her husband, Ryan Reynolds, asked the court to do the same. And the motion to dismiss, Lively's legal team cited a California law that protects individuals from retaliatory lawsuits if they report allegations of harassment or misconduct. If successful, Baldoni could be on the hook to cover Reynolds and Lively's legal fees. This lawsuit is a profound abuse of the legal process. This is what's in this filing. So this lawsuit is a profound abuse of the legal process that has no place in federal court. California law now expressly prohibits suing victims who make the decision to speak out against harassment or retaliation, whether in a lawsuit or in the press. Attorneys Mike Gottlieb and Ezra Hudson told Yahoo Entertainment in a
It all began when a very careless legal assistant or an irate intern likely let some private documents to fall into the wrong hands. By wrong hands, we mean the kind of hands that thrive on turmoil in Hollywood. Blake's name became popular overnight, but not because of a new film or a sweet family moment with Ryan Reynolds. Within hours, those delicious little facts were all over the place, giving rise to a flurry of speculation. Nope, whatever sleazy business was recently disclosed was the main focus this time.
Meritless and retaliatory lawsuit runs head first into 3 legal obstacles, including the litigation, fair report, and harassment privileges, the latter of which contains a mandatory fee-shifting provision that will require the likes of billionaire Steve Sarowitz, Wayfair Studios, and others that brought frivolous defamation claims against Miss Lively to pay damages. Gottlieb and Hudson continued. In other words, in an epic self-own, the Wayfair party's attempt to sue Miss Lively into oblivion has only created more liability for them, and deservedly so, given what they have done.
The worst part is that her lawyer's error wasn't just a small oversight. Rather, it was the kind of blunder that sends legal teams into a panic because, whatever it was, alleged backroom deals, unpaid debts, or something a little more intriguing, it was sufficient to put her team into full-blown damage control mode.
Text exchange between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni during the filming of It Ends With Us. Hey Blake, did you rewrite Lily's lines for today's scene? Oh yeah, nothing big though, just a few changes that I think better portray Lily's thoughts. That's cool, I don't mind, I trust you. Could you just let me know next time in advance? I want as much of a woman's perspective as possible. So do your thing, I just want to be kept in the loop. So Ryle is reacting to the right lines. When we film, gotcha. Don't worry, you're still the director. No need to snap at me. So that passive aggressive exchange was part of a text from May 15th, 2023. And then they sent each other voice memos. More things to come with this to see if the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuits.
Let's not pretend that Hollywood's A-list doesn't have its share of hidden drama, so naturally, the internet detectives were quick to piece things together, and within minutes, theories were flying about whether this was about a previous project gone wrong, a dirty secret investment, or, dare we say it, something personal.
Lively's motion, which was obtained by Yahoo, slammed Baldoni's vengeful and rambling lawsuit. I mean, just reading this, it is like venom. It is so disgusting, especially with all the evidence that we know. And just the idea that someone can just claim harassment falsely, ruin someone's life, or falsely claim assault, ruin that person's life, and that person should just lie down and take it. There's nothing can be done about it. It's absolutely insane that this law, I understand why the law was done, but when you think about it, like this is how people can get ahead. They can just threaten somebody and say, I will claim that you tried to sexually.
That's as good as an admission that something's definitely wrong in Hollywood. Meanwhile, her legal team was in full damage control mode, drafting statements and somewhere in a very expensive office, a lawyer was probably having a very bad day because, let's face it, when your own team leaks the receipts, there's no easy way to spin that. Then came the reaction, and oh, was it telling. Blake, who usually has the perfect response to everything, suddenly went very quiet. There were no clever Instagram posts or lighthearted banter with Ryan Reynolds, just radio silence.
Her PR move, Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit, and I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move, and she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And instead the public is saying, no, we have a few questions here. And Justin Baldoni is going all the way to the wall on this. His lawyer is already giving interviews explaining just how nasty her team has.
Naturally, the media jumped in headfirst, with headlines claiming that Blake was collapsing under pressure, insiders speculating about panic behind the scenes, and of course, the age-old scenario of an actress's close friend suddenly knowing everything. But is she actually collapsing, or is she just rushing to escape whatever mess has just been thrown in her lap? And let's not forget Hollywood's favorite game, public perception. Blake has been creating the ideal scandal for years. Free celebrity, a polished, smiling actress who somehow seems to stay above it all. No ugly divorces, PR nightmares, or unexpected meltdowns. But suddenly that immaculate image was suffering.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
Yep.
And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
That's what generated her negative press and led to a series of clips of her being insensitive in one way, shape, or form with other interviewers in the past. She has no one to blame but herself for that.
The press tour is part of that pay package.
Right.
You have to show up with a smile on your face and be polite to people who are not lobbing, difficult questions at you.
Naturally, her admirers were split. Others weren't so sure where there's smoke, there's fire, they muttered as they zoomed in on every blurry screenshot going around online. Then came the conspiracy theorists. Oh, and did they have a field day? Perhaps this was Hollywood politics at work? Perhaps someone was out to get her? Perhaps this was all a carefully planned stunt, because in a field where any publicity is good publicity, who's to say this wasn't some strange strategy to keep her name in the headlines?
She was hired to act in this movie.
Yes.
And we know now from so many texts and emails, she wanted to take over this project.
Yes.
She needed some way to recover. And the way she thought in her mind was this insane lawsuit. Okay. And maybe he did make her uncomfortable. I don't know. I wasn't there. But the thing you have to know before you do this is, how are you perceived in your industry? And the one time they worked with Ryan, he was a jerk. And the one time they worked with Blake, she was the worst. And they're all going to come out. If you have a great reputation.
They think they're great people, you see. People that are egos and narcissistic like that, they think there's nothing wrong with them. They're the best.
You don't see it. And they aren't aware of their reputation. If you have a great reputation, everyone's going to come out and support you. What does it say that your best friend, Taylor, has not come out to defend you?
No. She's like, girl, she's like, I'm waiting to bring out.
But here's the thing, if it was a stunt, it wasn't going well, because Blake wasn't just dealing with online gossip, she was dealing with a legal situation, and legal messes don't just disappear. Because you ignore them, they tend to get worse. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds, Blake's ever-supportive, always-joking husband, was suspiciously quiet. Normally, he'd be the first to crack a joke about the situation turning a scandal into a Twitter punchline. But this time, nothing, not a single tweet, not a single sarcastic remark, and that was enough to make people wonder if things were actually as serious as they seemed.
By worse, I mean worse for Blake Lively's entire case. So when it came time to film It Ends With Us, Jenny Slate rented an apartment in New York City. Makes sense, that's where they're filming the movie. She has a toddler. I guess for whatever reason, she didn't love this apartment, right? The problem is, she ended up dropping a $15,000 deposit. So if she wanted to move to a different one, she would have to lose that $15,000 deposit. Heartbreaking. So Jamie Heath, who's a producer on It Ends With Us, ended up offering for Wayfair to cover that $15,000. That way she didn't lose it. Something in which he referenced her being a mother made her uncomfortable. And that's ultimately what led to her filing this HR complaint with Sony. So this is where Sony got away with back in the December article when Variety published that they'd asked if any HR complaints had ever been filed against Justin Baldoni during the production of It Ends With Us. Well, they were able to say no because this specific HR complaint was not filed against Justin Baldoni. It was filed against...
The internet has a long memory, so once the receipts are out, they don't just vanish. Blake Lively may be accustomed to controlling the narrative, but this time the story is writing itself, and whether she collapses or not, one thing is for sure. Hollywood won't be forgetting this anytime soon.